fight between four football fans happening this evening between the match of Selangor and Johor Darul Takzim in Multimedia University Melaka Football Stadium. The fight lasted for 30 minutes before they were being kicked out of the stadium by a security guard.
Diam lah korang, diam lah ibu.
Diam lah. Diam. Stop lah. You punya tim dah kalah dah. You yang bising dah. Apa dah you
Cakap lah.
You kalah right?
In Malaysia, the situation is the same. In 2010, the first leg of Malaysia Cup quarterfinal match between Selangor and Kelantan showed that there is a risk of safety and health aspects in terms of spectators. Today, we are honored to have four very experienced and knowledgeable speakers with us to explain the current legislations or regulations that have been incorporated to ensure the safety of the spectators and the stadium facilities itself. Besides, we also have the chance to listen to their suggestions for the possible reforms to ensure a safer accommodation is provided to football spectators. Without further ado, let us invite Ms. Hazira and Mr. Mike to tell us something about the stadium facilities.
Hi, my name is Siti Hazira binti Baharudin. There are two issues that we are going to discuss in stadium facility, which is defective design and poor stadium management. I'm going to discuss the issue of defective design. Based on the Legal Information Institute, it defines defective design as the product that is being made correctly but there are flaws in the designing that make it harmful for consumer, since the flaw is inherent in the product design. There are several legislation or guidelines that need to be followed by the engineer or architect in making a design for construction. The first guideline is made by the Institute of Electrical and Electronic Engineers Code of Ethics, where it about the standard morality and ethics in all of one professional dealings. Secondly is on the legislation of Occupational Safety and Health 1994. The function of the Act to enhance working condition and environment to avoid any risk that going to be faced by the workers. The last legislation is the Occupational Safety and Health and Control of Industry Major Accident Hazard Regulation 1996. In this legislation, it pinpoints more on the emergency when major accident happen. The example incident where this issue became the main issue is the incident of the collapse of the stadium Mizan Zainal Abidin roof that happened in Terengganu. The stadium construction finished in May 2008, but the collapse happened 1 year after that, which was in June 2009, when 60% of the roof on the east wing of the stadium collapsed. And the second collapse happened again in February 2013. Although this incident did not cause any death or serious injury, it is definitely something FIM should be alert to. What if it happens during a game? From me, I'm going to pass the floor to Leong Wei Shen.
Alright, thank you so much, Hajira. Finally, it's my turn. So apart from the defective design, the football spectators' safeties will also be at stake without a proper stadium management. And in Malaysia, at the federal level, the stadium management is actually handled by the Perubatan Stadium Malaysia. And at the state level itself, it is actually handled by the local governments via the local authorities and also the State Stadium Corporation. However, the poor stadium management in Malaysia is alarming. And the reason being that the Malaysian government is too obsessive in constructing new stadiums. And in 2013, according to a study conducted upon the PSM and also the State Stadium Corporation, it was found out that they lack professional personnel such as civil engineers. And thus, the result was that maintenance activities was always confined to routine maintenance activities and housekeeping activities. So sad. And overall, this study concluded that the level of effectiveness in terms of the stadium management in Malaysia is low. Sadly, these worrying studies seem to be taken lightly by the relevant authorities. And for instance, in June 2022, Malaysians were shocked by the poor management of the National Stadium Bukit Jalil. I repeat, National Stadium, when its pitch was waterlogged during heavy downpour, and the staff have no choice but to use equipment such as shovels and a cardboard just to manually push away the water. And since the management of the city stadium is handled by PSM, in response to the critics from the public, PSM had no choice but eventually admitted that this stadium lacked structural assessments ever since it was built in 1990s. Oh my goodness. At this juncture, it is arguable that there are three main reasons contributing to the poor stadium management in Malaysia. First, lack of professional personnel. Second, lack of budget. And third, lack of structural assessment.
Wonderful speech by Ms. Hazira and Mr. Mike. But aside from the stadium facilities, I believe the hooliganism amongst the fans is also another key issue that we would like to discuss. So I now hand over the floor to Ms. Intan and Ms. Kim Shin.
So my name is Intan Shahira, and I will continue to hooliganism among fans for the current situation. So hooliganism we can refer as a destructive and violent act behavior by spectators at sporting events. So football violence was mostly confined to football stadiums during the 1960s to 1970s, but it's increasingly moved outside since then. So there is a two type of misbehavior that fans usually engage, which is a verbal misbehavior and a physical misbehavior. A lot of examples of hooliganism happen in Malaysia, but recently we can see that on 21 November 2020, there was a riot that took place at Stadium Sultan Mizan Kuala Terengganu, which is that after Terengganu team lost 2-3 to the Selangor team in second semi-final games of the 2022 for the TM Malaysia Cup. So for your information, there's a three pieces of legislation applicable toward the hooliganisms among fans in Malaysia. The first one is a Police Act 1967, which is a police officers have a duty under Section 20 sub 3 sub K to protect public property from loss of injury. The acts only provide the general rules of the police to ensure the safety of the public, but not to confront the hooliganism in riot gear. So the second legislation we can discuss is a penal code, which is under section 146 of the penal code. It stated that every member of the unlawful assembly is guilty of rioting when force or violence is used in persecutions of common object of such assembly. Also in section 141 sub C, define an unlawful assembly as an assembly of 5 or more person who has committed any mischief or other offense. So from section 4 to 5, which explain about mischief as a causing damage to other person or property. And for those hooligans who cause damage to stadium with fireworks or any explosive materials, they are subjected to punishment under section 435 of the penal code. So I will pass to Kim Shin to the third legislation that applicable to the hooliganisms among the fans in Malaysia. Thank you.
Thank you, Intan. My name is Kim Shin. Moving on, the third legislation is Public Order Preservation Act 1958. According to Section 3, the minister may proclaim an area to be in a state of danger if the public order in that area is seriously disturbed or threatened. This applies when hooliganism occurs as to disturbing the public order. Under the proclamation area, the police officers are conferred with substantial powers such as excluding anyone from entering it as provided under Section 8 sub 1. However, in comparison, the UK's Public Order Act 1986 is more inclusive as it covers almost all conduct that could be considered as acts of hooliganism, where Section 1 to 3 refers the scope of riot, violence, disorder, and affair. Next, lack of safety awareness. The spectators must have a high level of safety awareness, especially on the prohibited items of the stadium. In this matter, the first part of Article 70 of the FAM Disciplinary Code 2015 states that the home team or club shall be liable and may be fined for the improper conduct among the spectators, while the visiting team will also be liable for the misconduct from its own group of spectators. Meanwhile, the second part lists down the examples of improper conduct. On the other hand, FAM as a member of FIFA complies with the FIFA Stadium Safety and Security Regulations, where Article 52 Para C clearly states that the spectators are prohibited from bringing flags, fireworks, or other forms of pyrotechnics into the stadium.
Thank you so much, Ms. Intan and Ms. Kim Shin, for the insightful speech. After listening to our four speakers, we might as well get some insight from the spectators themselves. We are fortunate to have one football fans with us today to express his view and opinion towards the safety of the spectators.
Hey, bro. Are you a football fan?
Yeah, I'm a football fan.
Alright, so which team you support?
I support Joe Darul Takzi.
Yeah, Johor. So I want to ask, right?
Yes.
In your opinion, what FAM can do to further ensure the safety of the football spectators in Malaysia?
To ensure the safety of the spectators. I think the first thing we have to do is to, control the display of the players. Because I heard of like the incident of Malice at the Palace or the Eric Cantona Kung Fu kick, right? We kick the fans one. Yeah. Yeah, that pose a certain level of threat to us, like football fans like me. Okay, so actually I came across one legislation which is like Article 50 of the FAM, the disciplinary code, which said that they would like punish the players for their misconduct. And also I think that FAM will like investigate together with AFC or even FIFA, right? If there is any disciplinary issues with regards to the football players. So but I think one thing I observed Malaysian football players lack sportsmanship,
Yes, I agree.
And then I think FM should provide some anger management courses for them to like understand and control their emotions better. I think that's all from me.
Thank you so much, bro.
We sincerely appreciate the feedbacks on views pointed out by our majority football fans. Now, we'll move on to the next session where we'll be discussing the possible reforms to ensure safer accommodation is provided to the football spectators. Thanks to the previous session, can we have Ms. Hazira and Mr. Mike to start the discussion first on the stadium facilities?
The reformation that we can make on defective design is by making sure that the design must follow the 5 stages of design process. Firstly, the pre-concept design. At this stage, the responsible person need to do a data collecting process. The reformation that can be made in this stage is by making sure the engineers and workers comply with the ethical guideline. Secondly, concept stage, where the material and fundamental structure is being identified. Reformation that can be made is by considering the incident of roof collapse mentioned above. It is imperative to ensure that all materials to be used must achieve the standard requirements. Third stage is the schematic design, where it involves identifying the technical requirements, structure and testing design. The reformation that can be done is by considering more design proposal to match the suitability that is needed for the stadium. The fourth stage is the design development, where it involves the conclusion of the complex calculation and choice of equipment. The last stage is issuing of the final design for construction, which includes submitting in the finalized design. That's all from me. I'm going to pass the floor to Leong Wei Shen.
Hi, it's me, Mike. I'm back. In response to the poor stadium management, the Malaysian government should actually adopt the maintenance effectiveness model. So, in this study, it is identified that there are 9 factors that we have to take into account in ensuring an effective maintenance practice. So, first and foremost, it is a policy, deployment, and organization. Since an effective maintenance practice depends on the successful and effective organization structure. Secondly, it suggests the usage of effective maintenance techniques. And thirdly, there must be a proper task planning and scheduling, because why? As mentioned above, the PSM eventually they have no choice but to admit that there is lack of maintenance scheduling for our national stadium. And fourthly, there must be an information management and computerized maintenance management systems which computerize all data related to the maintenance activities in order for us to keep track of the progress and also the performance. And fifthly, proper spare part management is important as well, where the stock should be managed according to the level of priority. And sixthly, effective human resources. Because why? This is very important because as mentioned above, in terms of the stadium management in Malaysian context, we lack of professional personnel. So seventhly, contracting out maintenance can also be considered where the management teams lack sufficient manpower. Moving on to one of the most important factors, financial aspect should be given emphasis to minimize the differences between the maintenance budget and the maintenance cost. Speaking of this aspect as well, the role of the federal and the state government in Malaysia in allocating sufficient budget is important as well, so that the hands of the authorities responsible for stadium management are not tied. Lastly, there must be a continuous improvement, of course. which means that the current maintenance practice must be reviewed from time to time so that we can do better in the future.
Wow, we definitely learned a lot about some of the possible reforms that can be made to our stadiums. Next, can we have Ms. Yin Tan and Ms. Kim Shin to tell us how could we fix the issue of hooliganism amongst the fans?
So moving on to the reformation to prevent hooliganism in Malaysia. So we strongly recommended that the Malaysia government may adopt the UK Football Spectators Act 1989, which is a football banning order on the hooligans convicted to a football-related offence from attending a domestic and international football match for a prescribed period of time. So the second suggestion that we are recommended that the stadium security infrastructures has been upgraded, which is a closed circuit television, which is a CCTV, must be utilized throughout the stadium. It must be more than 5 CCTV to monitor and detect the rule breaker, and will help to monitor the movement of spectators and keep them reminded that their behavior are being observed. So also we suggested that using the iris scanner technology that used to control aggressive fans' behavior and prevent hooliganisms and violence among football fans. It is a RFID chips, which is a biometric passport photo created as a part of application procedure for a club card to enter the football match. So I'll pass to Kim Shin for the further recommended. Thank you.
Thank you, Intan. Furthermore, it's recommended to have undercover operations. Plainclothes police officers should be sent to the football match both inside and outside the stadium in order to infiltrate the hooligans groups. Gathering information in this way may help arrest those participating in hooligans activities. To increase the spectators' safety awareness level on the prohibited item of the stadium, we can utilize the social media platforms such as Facebook to spread the information of those prohibited items. For example, the FAM had made an announcement on the list of prohibited items to Stadium Bukit Jalil one day before the first match of Asia Cup 2023 qualifiers final round between Malaysia and Turkmenistan. Meanwhile, security plays the main role to prevent any prohibited items being brought into the stadium by the spectators. Article 29 of the FIFA Safety and Security Regulations clearly emphasizes on security checks. Bag checks, metal detectors, and uniformed security personnel are all preventive measures to protect the safety and health of the spectators. In FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022, the committee also uses electronic gates and inspection devices for bags and banned materials in stadiums.
Very interesting points by Ms. Intan and Ms. Kim Shin. I'm sure that if all the reforms could be implemented, will effectively reduce the fight incident in Malaysia football. Next, let us hear again from our charity football fans on what suggestion he has for us.
Woohoo, bro! Nice workout, bro.
Hey!
Hey!
Yeah, hello, it's me again.
Hello! So this time around, I want to ask you, so just now you mentioned about discipline amongst players, right?
Yes.
So for Malaysia contact, is there any reformation that we can do in order to improve this area?
Actually, I have a very good reformations, which is the fair play rule. Do you know that?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, the fair play rules like we'll look into the number of yellow cards, correct? And then because if like there's a tiebreaker between two teams and the team with the last number of yellow cards will actually advance to the next round. So I think that this will like certainly to a certain level limit the violent conduct of the players.
Yeah.
So another reformation I have for you is the anger management course.
Yeah.
I mentioned just now, correct or not? Because I think that is very important to like let the players to learn how to handle their emotions and respond, to the anger or what other things lah. So I think that is all lah for my reformation part. So
Alright.
yeah,
Thank
bro.
you so much. Continue with workout. Oh, okay.
Bye bye.
All right, thank you, Mr. Charity. So tonight we learned a lot on how to ensure the safety and also health aspects of the spectators as well as the stadium facilities. I hope you all enjoy the session tonight and we'll see you next time.
Hey, come.
Hey, sit over there.